about nursing home workers in Illinois. We're about to get started in another minute or so.
It's Neil Waltmeyer with HCII, helping with some of the technical things today. Just want to remind folks to keep yourself on mute when you're not talking to avoid background noise. The mute button is in your bottom left-hand corner of your menu on your computer or your phone if you're on the app, or if you're on the phone, it is *6 to mute or unmute yourself. As we've done in other recordings, and I see we have a request. If you'd like to record this press conference, hit the record button first at the bottom of your screen, and then chat everyone that you would like to record, and we will go in and click the button to allow you to record, and we'll take just a few minutes to do that before we get started. WCIA has been granted permission to record. Is there anybody else that wishes to record? Just please type in the chat box. For convenience, if you could ask your questions in the chat box, we'll get to them towards the end of the program. Feel free to add follow-up questions, and if in the when your question's being answered, if you want to unmute yourself to expand on that, feel free to do so. With that, I will turn it over to Greg Kelly.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Again, my name is Greg Kelly, and I am the president of SEIU Healthcare in Illinois. Thank you for joining this conversation. We are here today because nursing home workers in Illinois have achieved an historic victory. On Friday, they were prepared to strike. There were 44 homes throughout the state of Illinois that were preparing to strike. But late last night, we came to an agreement with the Illinois Association of Healthcare Facilities for a tentative agreement. Our bargaining committee then approved that and made a recommendation that the entirety of the membership vote to ratify and accept that contract. It is because of the courage and commitment of our members that we've been able to achieve this historic victory. There are a number of things that we accomplished during these negotiations. I wanted to highlight just a few of them. We were able to raise the baseline wages, bringing all workers in the nursing homes that we represent above $15 an hour, and then bringing parity in wages to nursing homes outside of Chicago. We were able to achieve hazard pay for all workers during the duration of the COVID-19 crisis. We were able to achieve additional fully paid sick days for COVID-19 related testing, illness, or quarantine for the duration of the crisis. And we also had an agreement that provides an assurance that employees are not required to work without appropriate PPE as determined by regulatory agencies. Again, this for the duration of the crisis. We believe that all of these major gains and the others will help safeguard the health and safety of the workers in the nursing homes, but also the residents that they are charged with taking care of. We believe that this will set the stage for an improvement in those homes. We are under no illusion. We know that nursing homes are hot spots, but we know that this will help improve conditions for both the residents and for our members. We believe that this agreement builds on progress that we made beginning in 2017 when we reached another historic agreement with the nursing home industry that began to raise wages and standards for the industry. And so we are proud of this agreement. Our members are set to ratify it. And with that, I'd like to invite a number of the courageous heroines who helped get us to this point, who are working on the front lines every single day in nursing homes. And we want you to hear from them. And so our first speaker is Francine Rico, a CNA who works at Villa of Windsor Park. Francine.
Thank you, my president. My name is Francine Rico. I am a certified nursing assistant frontline worker for the Villa at Windsor Park, and I currently am the vice chair for the nursing home division, SEIU, Healthcare, Illinois, and Indiana. I just want to take a moment and say this has been a historical moment for the members, our frontline workers. This has been a voice we've been crying for years to be heard, and we are the frontline caregivers to our residents. We're like family to our residents, and we are the voices, especially in a pandemic, for those residents and as well as for ourselves. So our members took it upon ourselves and the work of our communities, our legislators, Congress, everybody to make our voices heard, make nursing homes a place where our residents deserve to be taken care of with dignity and respect. So for those reasons, I thank our members. I thank the hard work that we have put to make our voices and make nursing homes a different look at where those residents and our residents must consider making their last transitions in life. It wasn't like we wanted to produce a massive strike, but in order to have our voices heard and as being family to the residents that we take care of, we were put in such a situation. And I thank you all. I thank the members. Thank you.
Thank you, Francine. Thank you, Francine. Our next speaker is Laverne Johnson, who is a laundry worker at Alden Wentworth. Laverne. Take yourself off mute, Laverne.
Okay. All right. Thank you. My name is Laverne Johnson. I currently work at Alden Wentworth. I have been there for 10 years, and I just want to say thank you to Greg Kelly, to Francine, and all the workers that help us to get to where we are today. It was a fight, and it was a hard fight, but we had to stand up and let the owners of these nursing homes know that we were tired of being overworked and underpaid and not be able to take care of our residents properly. So it was really, I'm really happy for the victory. I didn't want us to have to go on strike, but if that's what we had to do to let them know that we meant business and that we were tired of being overworked and underpaid and disrespected and not be able to take care of our residents properly, being understaffed every day, that means the victory. And I am so happy. I am 65 years old, and with this raise, it's possible that I will be able to retire in the future. So once again, I just want to say thank you to everyone who helped us get to where we are today, and may we continue to work harder to get more than what we deserve. So once again, I want to say thank you.
Amen. Well, thank you, Laverne. Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Ainsley Peck, a CNA over in Galesburg at Aperion Care. Ainsley? Make sure you take yourself off of mute, Ainsley.
Hello, my name's Ainsley. I work at Aperion Care of Galesburg. I've been there for 5 years. I've been on the bargaining committee, so this is my second time around with the contract. Everybody was ready to strike, but we came to an agreement last night, and I think we got some really amazing victories out of this, and everyone should be proud. We fought hard. We were able to get the same pay rate as Chicago, which I think is very important. We do the same work, we deserve the same pay. So, everybody should be really proud of themselves for what happened. We didn't have to go on strike. So.
All right. Thank you so much, Ainsley. Thank you so much. Couldn't be prouder of our members and the work that they did to speak up for themselves and to advocate on behalf of the folks that they care for every day. We're honored to have with us today a longtime champion and fighter for working people. She's the amazing Congresswoman from the North Side, North Shore. She's always been there for us. And this week she offered a bill in Congress that will address many of the issues that nursing homes face on a national level. But she's been supportive, and we're honored to have with us Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to all of the workers in the union that were so brave and so determined to stand up for yourselves, but also for the patients. I think it's really, really important for everyone to understand that worker safety equals patient safety. It translates immediately, 100%. The workers were telling me stories about not having enough personal protective equipment. Imagine that. Now, who does that hurt? Of course, it puts their very lives in danger when they go to into a room with a COVID-19 patient. But then she goes to another room, or maybe even to another nursing home, spreading it. And that's what Greg had mentioned, that nursing homes now are hotspots in our country. In the state of Illinois, 44% of the deaths from this pandemic are attributable to nursing homes, workers and patients. You know, many of the problems that were somewhat resolved, or at least addressed, in this tremendous victory that the workers earned have been there for a long time, but really never before has each of these workers made the decision every morning to go to work into a situation that could, one, cost them their lives, and two, to find themselves underpaid and disrespected. I heard a story, Greg, the other day from one of your members who said she asked for a mask and was told it will cost you $1. These kinds of working conditions, that's a hostile thing to say, especially for someone who is underpaid. And now we are seeing across the country that this is a hotspot. And so I had the privilege to work with many of my colleagues. I'm the chief sponsor of a bill called the Quality Care for Nursing Home Residents and Workers during COVID-19 Act of 2000 and the Act of 2020. And I am looking forward to working with my union friends and non-union friends who are in these nursing homes to get this legislation passed. We're calling on families as well, because this bill benefits them too. And finally, I am working right now with the Speaker of the House and the leadership of committees to get at least a portion of this very comprehensive bill into the legislation to require minimally testing, to require sufficient protective equipment, and to make sure that every nursing home is recording and reporting exactly what's going on, so that we know how many people are getting sick, how many people are dying in these nursing homes every single day. In the state of Massachusetts, for example, 60% of the COVID virus deaths are attributable to nursing homes, workers and patients. And things like that are happening around the country. But we have brave workers in Chicago and in the state of Illinois, and actually in Missouri and Indiana, who are part of this union, who are standing up and saying, we can do better. We don't have to wait for this virus to end, because this virus is showing the problems that we've been facing. And this is the right time. So I'm glad that the victory came to these hardworking people who are willing to go forward as essential workers every day and say, I'm going to help my patients. I'm willing to take the risk. And now the risk is a little bit lower because they got some benefits, and their patients will benefit too. So thank you, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Congresswoman. Our next speaker is a friend of HCIIMK, Commissioner Brandon Johnson, Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson of the 1st County District.
Thank you, President Kelly, and congratulations to all of the members of this dynamic union. And your victory has certainly placed the labor movement and the working class and the residents who rely upon our advocacy in a much better position. So from the bottom of my heart, as one worker to the next, thank you for not just fighting for dignity and respect, but having a vision and an imagination beyond the limitations that have been placed around this industry, the workers, the residents for generations. What this victory has certainly done, as Congresswoman Schakowsky has indicated, it has exposed the pre-existing conditions that have gripped the lives and the lifestyles of not just the workers, but it has hampered the type of care and the quality of care that the residents deserve. I know in my district on the west side of Chicago in the western suburbs, where there are many facilities that did not have the basic necessities in order to not just provide the care for the residents, but the type of pay and standard that could actually make families whole. And so I'm pleased that your victory did not just simply raise the wages of workers, which is important. What it did, that it actually raised the standard of our nursing home facilities. And so that fighting for protective gear, fighting for hazard pay and winning hazard pay, fighting for wages to be raised and winning that important victory is going to help bring stability to very vulnerable communities that have been profoundly impacted by this deadly virus. We also know, my last point is that the vulnerable population that your members service every single day, where many of the residents in these nursing homes are Black. As Congresswoman Schakowsky has indicated, in Illinois, where we've already seen the death toll in our nursing homes reach a rate that is not only troubling, but it is deeply, deeply, deeply alarming. And your fight in this moment will help secure the most vulnerable in our population. And so from the bottom of my heart, I'm grateful that this fight for dignity and respect was also a fight to take on system-wide racism that has ultimately left people behind, that have ruined families, and in many cases have placed people in positions where they could not recover. But your fight and your win has set us on a path to right the wrongs of generations, to right the wrongs of lives that have been destroyed and harmed because they could not make a livable wage. They did not have access to healthcare. And so again, I thank you for your fight of not just raising wages, but raising the standards for the industry. Much more work to do, but it always feels good when you can get to first base and second base. Now it's time for a 3-run homer. Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. We were fortunate to have the support of so many elected officials throughout this campaign. And on behalf of our members, we are eternally grateful for that support that has meant a great deal to them. And so I just want to publicly thank Congresswoman Schakowsky Commissioner Johnson for what you've done and what I know you're going to do in the future. We've also been fortunate enough to have the support of amazing faith leaders, and our next speaker is an amazing faith leader. So I'd invite the Reverend Dr. Marshall Hatch of New Mount Pilgrim Baptist Church to bless us with some words.
Thank you, President Kelly. And of course, as a pastor, many of us have been greatly concerned as we watched this pandemic begin to ravage the most vulnerable citizens, which would be the residents in these nursing homes, and then some of the most vulnerable workers, which would be the workers who serve them. And so morally, we could not sit idly by while the people who are the most vulnerable in our society literally become the epicenter of this pandemic, while others look to go on and reopen an economy and attempt to conduct business as usual. We cannot leave these nursing home residents behind, and these essential workers who have been essentially undercompensated and undercared for themselves. And so we congratulate these workers for their stand, and we're entirely clear on who the big winners are. And that, of course, would be the residents in these nursing homes, who these workers have fought for, even as they fought for themselves. And so we want to say this is a good first start. I think all of us, our eyes are going to be on continuing to put these residents first and these workers first, that as we kind of march toward whatever the new normal will be, that we have to make sure that the last are first, and that these residents and these workers will have what they need in order to battle this pandemic as we continue. So we congratulate these workers. It has always been often from the bottom up that where the most light is cast on what we need to do. And so when the last become first, literally everybody can flourish. And so we congratulate these workers and want to commend you that you've been fighting the good fight, and want you to know this is God's work. And as you fight, we'll be fighting with you. God bless.
Greg, are you on mute?
Of course I am. I guess I would conclude this part by saying we appreciate all of the support that we've gotten. Our members stood up and said that enough is enough. They took on the challenge of advocating for themselves and their residents, even in the midst of a pandemic. We know that there is much work left to be done, but we believe that we have made some progress. And if there are any questions, feel free to ask them. I think, Neil, you're going to be playing referee on
Yes,
questions.
Greg, I believe we have one from the Tribune asking, when is the ratification vote?
We are in the process of preparing for all of that now. That's always the fun part, but we're in the process of getting that work done now.
If there's other questions, please put them in the chat box. John at Crane's Chicago Business Ask, the IAFCF says that workers other than CNAs who work outside of Chicago will make $14.50 in the first year, not being in parity with Chicago until year 2. Is that the case?
That is correct. There will be parity by year 2. Yes.
And then again from the Tribune, how are supplies of PPE and staffing now?
Let's see. You want to speak to that, Francine?
Sure. So supplies and staffing is still not at the greatest. Our members are still needing to use gowns and raincoats and use your mask, for a week. So hopefully it can make some type of difference with the pressure coming from our politicians and Congress to making sure that these things that we've asked and demanded for, that we are feeling that you all have our backs, and gonna make sure that these nursing home owners provide the proper PPE and adequate things that we need to take care of our residents properly and safely.
Yes. And if I could add, one of the things that we've been doing, we've been working with the Senate president, actually, who has issued letters to the Illinois Department of Public Health, requesting information about PPE, what's been distributed, getting information about which homes are providing PPE or requesting PPE. So there's a lot happening. There's also some pending legislation in the House. There are a lot of things moving with respect to PPE and making sure that our members have it going forward. In addition to contract language that we agreed to that essentially says if workers aren't provided with enough, that they'll be excused from the work. So there are a lot of things in motion with respect to the PPE question.
If I could just say, this is Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, how outrageous it is that anyone would have to use their mask, gown, gloves up to a week. It's a complete failure on the part of the federal government to not control the supply or demand that the supply be made enough to distribute to all of these nursing homes. When we call people essential workers, we say they have to go to work, then it is really the responsibility in this pandemic that we get them the materials and the protection that they need. It is one of the most infuriating, unacceptable things that I have ever heard of. We're fighting like cats and dogs to make sure that you have what you need to keep yourself safe and your patients.
Thank you.
Sam from NPR Illinois asks, could you expand on the PPE issues at nursing homes? Should IDPH be disclosing more detailed information? And has your union been in contact with the department to get more info on shipments?
So we have been in contact with the administration, and we have raised our concerns about the lack of PPE, and they have indicated to us that they are trying to supply, as they get them, more and more to the departments of public health for the counties and the municipalities. One of the questions that we have been trying to get answers to is, are the nursing homes themselves requesting the PPE? And if so, are they making it available to their employees? And so there are a number of things that we're trying to do on this PPE question, but we certainly know that there's a role for our Illinois Department of Public Health to play, and we have been engaging them on this question. Yeah.
Next question comes from Jonah at the Evanston Patch. How many nursing homes represented by SEIU have done comprehensive testing of all employees, even those without symptoms? Is there any leverage involving testing in the tentative agreement?
It's a great question. So what the administration has decided to do is to test in hot spots. As we've already mentioned, the nursing homes writ large are hot spots. And so we're trying to get a better understanding of their process of determining which homes are available or should be tested. And so it's a moving target that we're trying to figure out. We don't yet know how many homes have been tested that all the staff have been tested, but we do know that there is an effort underway to test all of the homes, but we don't yet know how many. But we're trying to figure that out with the administration.
That's all the questions we have for now. If any reporters have additional questions, please put those in the chat box.
Okay, seeing no more questions, I think the point we would make is we believe we've made progress with respect to the broader challenges within nursing homes. We have a ways to go, but we do think that we've made some progress with this latest agreement. I will say that at some of the homes, they're already testing. I think, Francine, your home, everyone has been tested. Is that correct? And you all are waiting for results? I'm just saying that.
I'm not sure since I've been out on negotiations since Friday, but I know this past Sunday they did have Illinois Department of Public Health there testing residents and as well as staff.
So we believe that they're starting to ramp it up. Obviously, they haven't gotten everywhere yet, but we continue to urge the owners to demand more testing. And it's an ongoing fight that we're going to be engaged in here. Okay. Again,
Greg,
yes.
we wanted to also, for the Spanish language stations
Yes.
that we're sharing this with, we wanted if you could introduce Regina. She's going to make her statement in Spanish.
Yes. And so we would ask Regina Rodriguez to join us and offer your thoughts. Regina, you're at Willow Crest Nursing Pavilion over in Sandwich. Can you join us?
Yeah, a little bit far from the city. Hello.
We can barely hear you, Regina.
Hello. I am a little bit far from the city, but I'll give you a statement in Spanish for all the Spanish-speaking people. Buenas tardes, me llamo Regina Rodríguez. Primero que nada, quiero agradecerle a toda la comunidad hispana y a nuestra unión por el esfuerzo que han puesto para ganar esta lucha, para ganar estos beneficios. Que sigan unidos, que sigan trabajando duro y que nunca dejen que el miedo los debilite. Que somos fuertes y que solo unidos vamos a hacer la diferencia. Muchísimas gracias a todos los que nos apoyaron y muchísimas gracias a todos los hispanos que están peleando por esta lucha.
Muchas gracias.
De nada.
And then I guess I will clarify one more thing. We intend to finish ratification by the membership by next week. I think Joe asked from the Tribune. We intend to finish by next week all of the ratification. And with that, this concludes this presser. Again, I want to thank the Honorable Congresswoman Schakowsky for joining us. We want to thank Honorable Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson for joining us. Pastor Dr. Marshall Hatch Jr., thank you for joining us. And of course, for all of the amazing workers, Francine, Regina, Laverne, Ainsley, you all are the real heroes, and we thank you. All right. All right, take care, everyone.